Lynn joined us.
Yeah, so hey guys, we are back. This is the ninth episode of this, and I've got one of my good friends, Dawn. And Dawn is fairly new to Sub2, just like me, but she has some real estate experience, some flipping experience, and some credit stacking, credit building experience. So, Dawn, why don't you kick us off? Just kind of tell us, who you are, where you're from, and how you got here.
So yeah, I'm actually newer than you. I've only been in there since what, 2 months now?
I
Yeah.
don't know why you're asking.
Almost 3 months, the end of the month. So yeah, just kind of learning my way around there, but there's a lot. So much. But I joined Ream in 2022, and that was March of 2022. I quit my job in August and just started plugging away and buying houses. I bought one in the end of October. I bought another one in December, flipped them, and I got into a bit of some trouble with my first one because my contractor was just awful. And so I learned the hard way about why you should build business credit before you do anything. And so I just love to do research. And through my research, I found how to build business credit and was fortunate enough to partner with a big company to start doing it on my own and helping other people, especially with me being part of REAN and now SubTo. There's a lot of people, a lot of investors, right, that need to build their business credit. And I didn't realize there was such a need for education in that way. So I've been having a lot of fun teaching people how to build their business credit and finding money. I love to find money in everyone's business. They don't realize how much they actually already have. And so when I go through all the different ways of creating money, they're excited that I find a few 100,000 for them. So it's been fun.
I was gonna say that's one of your favorite things that you tell me all the time in the side chat. So like let's riff on that for a little bit because you tell me all the time you're like so many people, the average Joe out there, they have money sitting somewhere, regardless of where it is. So why don't you talk about a few of the specific examples of like where and how you've helped people find this money?
So I actually started my very first one, my very first few ones was the 401k. So a lot of people, if they're not investing in their 401k, they can very easily roll that over and start investing. And so that's how I've helped my first two clients. The first one, she that's how she started. She used her 401k and she's on her eighth flip. So that was super amazing to be able to help her kind of get going in her journey.
Yeah, so it sounds like you started with 401k, but you told me about a couple other examples, right? Like what else are you looking into? Like lines of credit, credit cards, like what
Yep.
other stuff have you been doing?
So our company has lines of credit up to 750,000. There is, there's always, of course, real estate loans, right? There's equipment financing loan opportunities as well. We have credit card stacking. So that's kind of been the buzz. I don't know if it's just because I'm in the business that I like see it all the time, but there's been quite a few Zooms going on with different companies doing credit card stacking. So a lot of people, they want to just get going right away. They don't want to build their credit, but you have to think about it like when you're 18 again, right? And you have to start all over again and build that credit profile. But there's also a way to utilize your good credit score to credit card stack. And that's what a lot of people are doing. But it's important to remember even though you have a credit card that's in your business name, doesn't necessarily mean it's for your business. You're still using your social security card, your social security number. So you just got to be careful when you start using those cards and know that, it's still on your personal credit.
Yeah, so I guess that is the buzzword though, but like what are some of these companies not telling people, right? There's like Grow and Fund, and I've heard of a few of them that they're like, oh, we offer credit stacking. That's the like you said, that's the big buzzword, right? They don't always throw in there that it's credit card stacking, but they just say credit stacking, credit stacking, credit stacking. We can get you either lines of credit or we can get you credit cards and we can help you get the money off the credit cards. But like what are they not telling people?
Um, I'm sure they're, letting people know the what it's all about. It's just, when you start investing, right, you want to be quick. You want to move right away. So you need that money right away. So if you have a good credit score, for us, it's if you have at least a 680, we can credit card stack, um, 5 or 6 cards to get you to maybe $100,000 up to $150,000, and it's 0% interest. But it's like a hybrid. You're using your personal credit score, right? So, and yes, it's for your business, but the idea is to eventually build your business credit up so that way you're not relying on your personal credit because, this is a business and we all don't want our businesses to go bad, but we're in real estate, most of us, and, that is certainly possible. So relying on your business credit is so much better than your personal credit.
Okay. So, and then I guess because I see a lot of people wanting to look into this, and like you said, 680 and above, it sounds like is probably your sweet spot. But what about these people that are below 680? Like, what kind of options do they have if they're not quite ready for a program like yours?
So the whole idea is for you to build your business credit on your Duns and Bradstreet, right? On your EIN number. You get a Dun and Bradstreet. And that's another thing. A lot of people are like, oh, I have a credit card. Well, do you have a Dun and Bradstreet?
Hmm.
No. So you're not really building business credit, right? Um, so yeah, the idea is to um, build that business profile so you're not using your personal credit.
That makes sense. And the business credit also reports differently. Like it's on a whole different scoring system. It's three different bureaus than the typical three you think of, which is the
Mm.
Transient, Experian, um, and Equifax.
You're
So
doing some homework.
well, I looked into it for a while.
Yeah.
I had thought about growing my business credit back in like 2020, 2021 when COVID came in and shut everything down, right? Because I ran a small business um that was dependent upon restaurants. So when restaurants went out of business or they were shut down temporarily, we had to look for other ways to float. But it looks like Melody has a question, so let's bring her up. What's up, Melody?
Yes, I had a question because I don't have a business credit card. I have a credit card that just in my name that I've had for a while, but I haven't been using it for business. When I talked to PCS or that, I thought, and maybe I misunderstood, but I thought if you open a card in your EIN number, even though your name is still going to be on it, that it was reporting under your EIN number and not your social security number.
Right.
Is that not correct then?
No,
Or
that's right. Yep.
so is that the correct way? You can't credit stack what you're talking about doing that? You can only do that under your own social security number?
No, you can certainly credit stack, but the thing of it is a lot of people they don't want to wait. They don't want to wait till they build their business credit to credit stack on the business side. So they do what's called like a hybrid, and they'll use your social security number instead to get you higher amounts of business credit. It kind of almost like um, it helps you out in the way where if you don't have a paydex score right now, you can use your personal credit.
Oh, okay.
You just, I mean, for the long term, of course, you don't want to do that because it's, on your personal, but and business credit is very different in the way of business and personal is very different in the way that, with personal, you can only utilize like what, 25%, and then your credit score goes low. With business, you can max that out and it's not gonna, affect your personal score. So that's the difference. And that's what a lot of people, they'll go out and get American Express or whatever, and they haven't built their credit profile. If they use a certain amount or try to max it, their personal is gonna get affected. Versus if you built that credit profile and it's under your EIN number, you could use whatever, because they want you to use it, right? And so they
Right.
don't make you just, stay lower than the 25%.
So realistically, how long would, say you have a good credit score and that, and you don't have any credit, your credit cards now are zero balance, how long would it take you then without a paydex score to start building, say,
Paydex score?
25 to 50,000 credit on your
Oh.
EIN?
It depends on how you strategically do it, right? Because there's business credit doesn't have, like every business credit card doesn't have to report to your Dun & Bradstreet, Experian, or Equifax. They don't have to. There's some companies that don't. And there's some companies that if you don't spend a minimum amount, they won't report. So
Okay.
yeah. And so if there's certain cards that report to all three, which is good, right? So, and there's some that only report to one. So if you know which cards, like you can do research to find out what card is going to report to all three. And then you can maximize your efforts by using that card, right? Pay it off, use it, pay it off, use it, pay it off. And then you start to build that credit profile. I have a client who within 30 days, her paydex score went from non-existent to one of them is 78 and the other one's like 65 and the other one I think is like 62 or something like that. That's after a month.
Oh, wow.
That's impressive.
That's incredible.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So, she's doing it in a really quick way. And her credit score is not the best personal credit score either. So she's on a good road. And for some people, it takes a little longer. Some people, they don't want to, they don't use their card, even though we recommend that you do because you want to use it, you want to pay it, you want to pay it. And, you can get gas cards. Everybody needs gas, right? For your business, you're going to go, door knocking or, checking out properties, you're going to use gas. So like, think about what your best strategy would be. Maybe not go get that, I don't know, Home Depot card because you don't need it yet, or, so yeah, it could be quick and you just have to stay on top of it. And that's the same thing with personal, right? If you don't use your personal credit and you're not trying to build on it, there's little tricks with personal credit. If you pay it, twice a month, it'll hit your credit score twice in a month. So that helps, paying your bill before the end of the month, before the end of the billing statement. So that way it'll report. That
So
you're
is it better?
balanced.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah.
So is it better for your business credit to pay your bill off every month or to carry a balance or?
I mean, if you need to leave a balance, then it's okay. It's not like personal where if you max it out, it's gonna take a big hit. But you know, just making that payment on time every month, of course, is going to help you build your credit, just like, you know, just like your personal.
Okay.
I mean, it's always better to pay it off if you can. But
Oh, okay, that's what I was saying. If it was better for your credit if you just paid off the whole thing with business
yeah, for
credit
sure. Yeah.
or that. So will you be putting your business, a link to your business or how to contact you in before the end of this or?
Yeah, I could do that.
Okay,
Yep. I could-
okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, because that is one of those things too, Don. I hear a lot of the credit gurus are always talking about like, oh, we should carry a 1% balance, a 3% balance. This is the best way to optimize. Um, so you're saying you can carry a balance, obviously keep it far below 25% if you can,
Right.
um, but pay it off if you can too.
Right. So split the payments into two and pay it 2 times per month helps. I know it does help in your personal credit because when I had done my flip, my first flip, and had to start using my credit cards, you know, because I didn't have a job and I only had a certain amount to make those payments. And I wanted to make sure I still had that cash to make those interest payments. I used my credit cards, and it, you know, I took a hit on my personal credit because I was going to Home Depot, I was going to Lowe's, and I was paying them, but you know, I was maxing them out because I didn't have a big line of credit in my personal name. So it took me a little bit. And so before I, you know, did any research on anything, I had a friend of mine in Reen tell me if you make credit card payments twice a month, it'll hit twice. And it worked. So that's what I do.
So tell us a little bit about how some of those other, like we were talking about how business credit is different from personal credit. Like I know personally that, you know, business credit, they're on a different scoring system. They report a little bit differently. Like you were saying, you can utilize more without actually taking the hit. What other kind of major differences are there?
I think the amount, right? The amount is so much more than your, you know, what you can get on your personal credit. It's a business, so you can get so much more money.
Like how much are they talking, right? Like what's kind of the typical case study you've seen between people doing personal versus business?
Um, so I don't really, I'm not part of that. I don't get, you know, I don't get into how much the clients get. Um, because we have a whole finance team for that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so what we do is, you know, we have a whole advisory team that kind of helps you with building your business credit. And then once you get to a certain point, you know, we also have a finance team that helps you get as much credit as you can. But I mean, you know, we have the lines of credit and there's certain criteria, right? And I think for us, the whole point of kind of having us is because we know what the companies are looking for. And so we know if you qualify before you try. You know, I had an investor fill out a credit card, and I'm like, did you know if you qualify? Because she got denied, and she was, you know, a little upset. She had her business for like 2 years now. And I said, well, you know, did you look to see if you even qualify for it before you even applied? And she said, no, I just tried. And I'm like, well, you know, there's ways to look to see if your business qualifies. You know, pull a credit report, see, you know, what your paydex score is. Do some homework before you just go out and apply for a card, because once you get denied, you know, that's an inquiry on your business now, and it shows that you were denied. Like it's not good. So
Right.
for us, you know, it's it's good because we know before you apply, like this is what you need to get a Chase card. This is what you need to get, all these a line of credit. You need to have your business, LLC for so long. And, you have to have this amount coming into your business every month. And, so we go through all of that to kind of pre-qualify so you don't mess things up.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. I just was curious if you had seen, because I know there are a lot of people that are bragging about the, like you said, the numbers, especially the credit gurus and the funding companies right now. So I know what I've heard and seen is kind of like, below 50,000 is what roughly what people can get on the personal side, right? But again, like you're saying on the business side, it could be multiples of that. Just depends on, what the credit profile looks like,
Yep.
how long they've had the business, how responsible they've been over how many years and so on and so forth, right?
So pretty much if you're applying for like a credit stacking, the way that it works is, say if you have a credit card in your personal name of say $20,000, that's what you're gonna qualify for on the business side. The difference is we can get 5 or 6 of those cards at one time to get you up to 150,000. That's pretty much the max. I mean, that's the average, right? A lot of people, a lot of companies are like, oh, we can get you 500,000. Probably not in your first round. Your first round, you can get up to 150,000, you know?
Mhm.
And that depends. Like if your highest amount is $5,000 right now, that's what you're gonna get. You're gonna get 5,000, maybe 5 or 6 cards. Um, so I mean, for business, you can get, 30, $50,000, but that's pretty much how it works. So if you need more, what they'll do is they'll look at your profile and see, okay, you have not, asked for, you've been really good with Discover on your personal side, and you haven't asked for an increase in this long. You've been paying your bills. Let's ask for a credit increase first. And so we'll work on getting your personal side higher before we pull for those business credit cards, hybrid cards.
Got it. So you're seeing, is that what a lot of people, like you said, they're doing that right now? They're going for the hybrids because that's what they recommended to me, like when I started my business, right? They're like, you obviously don't have a credit profile for your business, you just started it. So a lot of people, whether you're just starting, or I'm guessing even if you've been in business for a little bit and you still don't have a business credit, it's probably best to go that hybrid route because you're basically personally guaranteeing it for a short period of time.
Right. Or you can do it the long way and just, because there's a lot of people that start out in SubTo or My Other Mentorship, they're brand new. And it's like you might as well start now, like the day you get your Dun and Bradstreet. And because that way, when you're ready to buy properties and you need that EMD, you'll
Hmm.
have it in your business. And they'll start you with like trade lines. Same thing like when you're 18 and you have to, I don't know, get a cell phone bill and start paying that, right? Um, you'll start there. And like I said, I have a client, I don't know how she did it, but within 30 days, she bumped up one of her scores at 80. I think it was 79 or 80. It's like was fast, but now she's ready for those cards because there's like 3 or 4 different levels, right? You started off with the trade lines, then you start off with the store cards, and then you start off with the credit cards.
Okay, so that makes sense. Like I said, that's been one of the big things I've seen. And I guess the long way is kind of like you're saying, that's what people recommend is like getting on trade lines, becoming like an authorized user on somebody's credit card that they have like a business credit card or what have you. Some of the things I've heard of is like go to places like Uline and Granger and whatnot, where they give you net 30 terms and they don't ask for You don't have to have any level of business credit whatsoever to get those net 30 terms. Is that kind of what you're seeing too?
Yeah. If you're brand new, that's where I recommend you starting if you don't want to use your personal. That's what I did. I used my, well, because, you know, at that point when I had a low credit score, I couldn't use my credit score anyway. So, you know, that's how I started, and I've, you know, built it up and fixed my credit at the same time. I did both. So in that way, it was good for me, and worked that way.
So when you say the short term versus the long term, what do you think the average time, like a ballpark timeline is, right? Like if they're going, they're trying to hack their way through it and kind of use the hybrid method, is it like 3 to 6 months, and then the long time might be a year or 2 years?
Um, so the hybrids, I mean, as long as you have a 680 credit score and some good limits on your personal cards, you could do it right away.
What about the long way?
So the long way is just getting through those steps, right? A lot of people, I mean, even the Dun and Bradstreet, right? That takes 30 days to get it. And that's nothing that, you know, you can't really get it any faster. It's just Dun and Bradstreet. It's how they work. Um, and then the trade lines, you know, you have to like I think one example is like JJ Gold is a card, and I think you have to spend at least $80 in order for them to report. If you don't spend $80, they're not reporting. Um, and you know, use three of those if you get three of them. So now you have three cards reporting on every single one of them. You can really build it up pretty quickly.
I think you answered this already, right? Can it be half the balance, or we make double payments for it to help? Because I know we had
Half the
addressed.
balance? Oh, yeah. I mean, it could be half the balance if you're gonna do both. You know, like if you're gonna pay, if it's 5,000 and you want to do 2,500, 2,500, it's still gonna be paid off at the end of before the statement is due.
Um, what about all the credit card offers that I know new business owners get, right? Like, because a lot of people, I know I did when I first started my business, they don't know shit about me. They have no idea. They just see a new EIN or was registered or a new LLC was filed, and all of a sudden you're getting letters in the mail from Chase, Amex, whatever, saying you're pre-qualified, and they have no idea whether you have the credit score to even qualify or not. So I guess talk about that a little bit. Like what do you do in those situations? Should people even look at those things? Like, are there any good offers that come through?
Oh yeah, you can get some really good cards. If you have if you have a Chase checking account, right? That's the first thing they do is offer you a Chase Inc. card, business card that day. But if you don't have a good personal credit score, or a Dun and Bradstreet or any type of business uh score,
Hmm.
you're not getting qualified. You're getting denied. Or if you have a really good credit score, but have no, um, you don't have your, you know, Dun and Bradstreet, and you have no paydex score whatsoever, they're using your social security number for your business to qualify you for your business. And that's fine. But just know that it's off of your social. It's not business credit, true business
Yeah.
credit.
It's not off of your IN. It might be even in your business's name, but still personally guaranteed by you.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I have, you know, that's how I thought when I had my first flip. I had Home Depot and Lowe's had my business name on it, but it was through my because I didn't have a Dun and Bradstreet. So it was through my social security number. It was all personal, but it had my business name on it. So I was like, "Woo, I got a business." No, it doesn't work that way.
I was gonna say, how did you figure that out? Is there some kind of fun story behind that?
Well, yeah, that's when I had said earlier I had to use them for my flips, my first flip, and it was hurting my personal credit score. It dropped
So
big time.
Lynn also said, she said, but if you're only paying minimum is what she meant. Um, I'm waiting for more money to come in uh and put so much more on my personal when I started, or just above minimum.
Yeah, I mean, if it's your personal, I would for sure pay that down as quick as possible. But it does help, like I said, if you make two payments before this statement is up, um, it does help your credit score go up.
Now, is there timing with those two payments? Because I've heard some people say like right before the pay statement date or at the beginning of the month or whatever. Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so before the statement um, date ends. So it's usually like 2 weeks before because you have that 2 week, grace period to pay your bill on and you're on time. But it's your credit statement when it closes, when it ends, that's when you want to make sure you pay it before that.
Yeah, she said her credit
Yeah.
score is good, but balance percentage is high right now.
Yeah.
So I guess like you're saying, probably for her, just go at it as hard as you can, which might be minimum or above minimum, but make make two payments if possible. And that sounds like at the basically at the beginning of the statement period as well as right before the statement period ends. Is that right?
Yeah, if you do it like mid statement and then right before the statement is ends.
Okay, so that would be the best way for her to go about just kind of making sure that A, it doesn't ding her credit more than what it already is going to, and B, that it helps her build that back up a little bit even.
Yeah, it does help. Yep. I mean, your credit score, you said is good, so I mean, you're probably fine.
Yeah, so if her credit, because if her credit score is good, even if her balances are a little bit high, like you said, I mean, it probably will take time. It probably would take a couple months, I imagine. She'd have to carry high balances or high utilization percentages in order for it to really start to bring down her credit. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, she said it's over 33%. So, I mean, what is it on the personal side, 25% or
Yeah, some
30,
people say
30%? So,
25, some say 33. She
yeah.
said over 50 really, but she got her duns.
Oh, nice. So that's good. So if you get your John's number, now you can start getting cards in your business. Just make sure done anything. Yeah. Just make sure you're applying for the right type of credit that reports to your um nice. Yeah. So yeah, as long as you're building credit that is reporting to your Dun and Bradstreet, Experian, and Equifax, you're good. You just don't want to like start using cards that aren't going to report, and then it's kind of like not to say a waste of time, but you're not getting that much faster. They're that much faster.
Yeah, I can imagine, especially like you said, if you're going through your social for everything and or you're trying to do it the hard way, which is like going through companies that offer net 30 terms. Because what I found was my company was like, yes, do we use some stuff from Uline? Yeah, but like we're not a huge manufacturing company, nor do we have a huge budget, right? So we're not like putting $3,000 invoices on net 30. It was like a $700 invoice.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you could always call them too. You can call the like Chase Inc., call them and say, hey, what reports do you guys report to? What bureaus do you report to? And they should be able to tell you. And ask them, what is the minimum that needs to be paid, you know?
That and I would say when you're like at your bank, just ask them outright too. I ask a lot of times like, hey, what are y'all typically looking for? Like, what's the minimum that you see get approved, right? And if they tell you it's a 620 to get a Chase Ink card, well, you at least have a benchmark to hit.
Yeah, I remember when I had opened my checking account, he didn't even ask what my credit score was. He was like, "Oh, you have a business now. You can get a card." And I'm like, "Pretty sure I can't. That's not really how it works." And I didn't even know
Yeah.
anything about business credit back then. I was like, "I'm pretty sure no." And he's like, "No, no." And he was, like that's what he did for a living. So I was like,
Is that one that you jumped down his throat afterwards?
"Oh, yeah." I fought him
Can you
for
tell
like
that story
five
for
minutes. Yeah.
everyone?
I fought with him for like 5 minutes and I'm like, I really don't think that I would qualify. And he's like, oh, well, let's just see, like it was no big deal.
Except it requires a hard credit pull to get qualified.
Right. And so it was a big deal. And I was so mad because, like I had said, I had those Home Depot Lowe's cards. So my credit score was low. Like I knew it wasn't gonna happen. And when he kind of assured me that, like, oh, yeah, you have a business now, it's different. Business credit is different from your personal. I'm like, okay. And then I get denied. And he was not happy when I left because like, you can't do that to people. And so I kind of reamed him a little bit on that one. I was like, you better make sure if you're going to do that to any other customer, you better, do your homework because not everyone qualifies just because they have an EIN number. I was so mad.
Yeah, well, I imagine you were. Because, like you said, when you know your credit score is low, you know that there's only certain cards you qualify for. And like you were saying before, like store cards tend to be one of the easier ones to get, kind of like the credit builder cards or the secured cards or the whatever cards. Like what kind of stuff do you typically recommend to people that whether they are 18 or they're building their credit back like they're 18, what cards should they go for now?
On the business side,
On personal side or business side?
gosh, I can't remember back then. I mean, back then we had J.C. Penney. I don't
Yeah,
know.
because some people had told me at one point that like gas cards were easy to get, but I find that gas cards can be, they're not always, right?
Mm, yeah. I mean, don't go for an American Express. That one's not easy.
No. Amex is not easy. Chase is not easy if you don't have a high score. Capital One I found is relatively easy. Discover is relatively easy. And like you said, store cards, which usually are like through Citi, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can look up any card, right? And see what the qualifications are. And if you don't want to do the research, just call them and ask them. Because I don't like to read, all that small print. So you just call them and say, and ask the questions. Ask, you know, um, what are your qualifications?
Wait, you mean you don't read legal print for a living?
No. I mean, now I do, yeah, but it's not fun. If I don't feel like it, I just call Adam and say, can you read this? No.
Son of a bitch. Not, not again.
So yeah,
Oh shit. Let's see. She said
JC
maybe
Penny was her first one too. That's
credit
fun.
for the
I
number of
love it.
people he gets to sign up. Yeah, most of the time they do. So I can tell you from working in big box retail lane that they push the credit applications mega hard. And what I eventually told them, because I worked at Best Buy when I was like 16, 17, even 18, and I worked in the warehouse and they were like, everybody store wide, you need to have this high of a sales percentage, you need to sell this many accessories, and you need to have like this many credit card applications. I told them, I was like, guys, flat out, y'all don't pay me enough for that shit.
Right?
Like y'all pay us like $9 an hour. You're trying to track y'all are legitimately trying to track us as if you pay us 90 grand a year. Like that's not how this works. Like people ask me to load a TV into their fucking car and I go outside and I help them load the goddamn TV in their car. You know what I mean? Like it has you need a truck unloaded, I'll unload the truck. But I'm not here to push iPods,
Yeah.
headphones, and also simultaneously tell them to put it on a Best Buy credit card. That's not happening.
Mm.
So yeah, they definitely get quotas. They definitely get compensated for it. And most big box retail is that way. AutoZone was the same way. They had KPIs where they would track anytime they try to sell you on that fucking brake grease or the light bulb grease or any of that other bullshit that they keep up by the front register, just tell them no. Because it's $1 for Vaseline in a different package.
Lynn said, save 10% today so you can charge you 29% tomorrow.
Well,
Pretty
and that's
much.
the other thing too. And anybody who's ever been on Amazon has seen it, right? Like you go on Amazon and they're like, "Hey, save 10% on your bill today. You know, this is what it would look like. We'll give you an automatic $100 statement credit, so that if your order is $229, that means you only have to pay $119 today." Sounds great
Mhm.
until they hit you with the interest rate.
Right. And that's what I love about business credit too, though, because they have no problem. There's so many 0% interest credit cards out there. So many. And I mean, Chase alone, I think they have like what, six, five or six?
Oh, easily. Capital One has probably 5 or 6. They usually have, I find like they'll have like 2 different secured cards for most big banks, which
Mhm.
would be like no cash, no incentives, no rewards. And then they'll have one that's like slightly harder to get. It might still be secured, it might not be, but that has like some cashback incentives. And then they usually have the mileage cards, and then they usually have
Yeah.
the other cashback bonus cards. I've also seen a lot of banks now are doing like a flex roll card because Discover started that years ago. Remember where they're like you get 1, 2, or 3% on every purchase.
Oh, yeah.
We allot those to like rolling categories, so it might be 3% on groceries this quarter, but then it's going to be 2% on groceries next quarter, but it'd be 3% on gas.
Hmm. Yeah, a lot of cards do that. But
I think they do it just to confuse the fuck out of us.
well, yeah, and you know, they have no problem passing out business 0% interest cards because that's, you know, they're waiting for you to miss that payment. So,
Yeah, that too. Talk about that a little bit. What are some of the crazy penalties and stuff if, even on these 0% cards?
well, I mean, you miss payment, you're, you know, now paying interest. But I mean, that's just like any other card. That's just how it works.
Totally, but I mean, I guess what I'm asking here too is because I see like Home Depot, some of their store cards do like it's not just a credit card, it's like a charge card. And so they'll do a lower interest rate up front, but if you miss that payment and you're late for several months, like they really put the nail in you. Like what other
Mhm.
kind of stuff do you see like that?
I mean, I've never really experienced that. I know like with Lowe's or Home Depot, if you spend, or they used to do that. I don't know if Lowe's does that anymore, but if you know, they'd have a promo. If it was you spend like $500, you get like I don't know, interest free for 6 months or something like that. But
Yeah,
that's per
ton of them
store.
do
You know,
that
they can
too.
change at any time.
There's a ton of them that do that too. Like I see the big banks will be like, "Oh, well, if you spend $2,000 in your first statement period, then we'll give you all these incentives." And they try to, like you said, the incentives are up here in big like headline text, and then like down at the bottom, they're like, "But you have to spend $2,000 this month."
Right, right. And that's the same thing. That's why I like Chase. I do like Chase Bank for checking accounts because um they actually have like promos if it's, you know, I think it's if you have a new account, it's like $300. If you know, keep a certain amount, I think it's like 2,000 a month. Um 6 months later you get like $300. I actually opened mine when I swear it was like a $500 cashback reward. So I ended up getting $500. And so, you know, you open up another LLC and you try to open another account and they're like, ah, you're already a customer. I'm like, damn. So you can't get that. Can't
Yeah,
get
you're like,
that bonus. Yeah. I'm
they
like, but
they'll
it's a new account. They're like, no, doesn't
and
work
like you
like
said,
that.
even if it's a new LLC,
New
that's what I
business
would do.
name.
I'd point to that. I'd be like, "Yeah, but look, it's a new LLC. That means it's a new customer."
Yeah, it's a new business name, but
Yeah, but
no, they
Dawn,
don't
you
let you
control
do that.
both of them. You're still the same customer.
Yep. Well, you're the owner, so yeah, that doesn't work. But I always look for the bonus cards. Anything I
Yeah,
can get extra money from.
well, you have to, but like I said too, what all these big corporations are good at doing it. Like I had this experience with OtterBox, which their legal was written up like super tight, almost as if it was for a damn credit card. The the phone fell off of a bathroom counter, so mind you, like 3.5 feet to the tile, but it fell on the bathroom carpet. In some kind of way, not ever leaving the case, never losing a screen protector, the entire back glass of the phone shattered. You can kind of see, well, not really because I had the blurred
Yeah.
back, but you can see it through the clear case. The entire fucking thing shattered.
Wow.
And so I called them and I was like, "Hey, like, what in the actual fuck? Like, you guys make all these wild claims. You can drop it from 10 feet in the air. You could run it over with a car. It's like submersible to 100 feet, whatever insane shit they claim now. Because OtterBox and LifeProof are owned by the same company. I think they're all owned by Amazon now anyway. So what's the difference?
Oh, right. Yeah.
But their legal was like 10 or 11 pages long. And the more I read it, the more I'm like, so you're basically saying buy our shit at your own risk. So if you fall for our marketing, it's your fault.
Well, I think Otterbox of all cases are one of the better ones, but I mean, it's not 100 proof, but at least they will give you another one, right? Don't they
Well,
give
they'll
you
give you
another
a
one
new
if
case.
your phone cracks?
They'll give you a
Oh,
new case, but what I found is I find that, you know, all of the companies, and this applies whether we're talking about credit cards or merchandise, the product quality is getting worse and the
mhm.
legal is getting better. Because I've been an OtterBox customer for like 12 years. I've always worked outside. I've always dropped phones. I've always had shit break. But the last couple generations of phones I've had, like the cases start to disintegrate sooner. And now this is a brand new case with a brand new phone. And damn phone broke inside the case.
Yeah,
So
I didn't I buy those cheap little Amazon ones. I don't buy the Otterbox. I'm like, I got insurance. I was doing
okay,
one of my flips in New Bedford, and it was pouring raining out, and we were just about done with the property. And I'm getting all my cleaning supplies. I had a roll of toilet paper. I open up the door, and of course, the roll of toilet paper falls out of the package and go almost like it's going to the ground. So I'm like, instead of taking my $1,000 phone and just worrying about that, I dropped my $1,000 phone just to pick up my 50-cent roll of toilet paper, falls into a big puddle, and now my phone's trash because I did not have good protection on it. So
yeah. But I think this brings me to another good point too, which is keeping track of your shit, right? Because a lot of people don't realize how quickly all of this can add up. Like you're saying, the case, the OtterBox with the screen protector is almost $200 at the store.
mm,
You add that to a $1,200 phone, you're at $1,400. If your plan's like 100 and some odd a month, like mine is, and I have a business plan, so we get discounted accessories, we get all these extra little perks, which Verizon's also been tightening the belt on. It's the same thing across the board, guys. It's just like the interest rates are never going up on savings and checkings either. Um, so all these things can get out of hand, and that would be my one piece of advice to people that like if you have a bunch of credit cards, keep track of all your shit. Maybe put them all on the same payment dates or put it in your calendar or do something that do automatic payments. Hell, like
yeah.
what kind of tips and tricks do you use on to keep track of everything?
So I actually have, it's so funny. I have someone who literally has built her business credit for every LLC that she has. And she has a purse of credit cards for every one of her LLCs. So if she's going to this property today, she'll grab that purse. If she's going to this property today, she's grabbing that purse. And that's how she keeps track of it because, it can get confusing and it's not a good idea to spend credit card, spend any money for this Massachusetts this property when you've got, your Rhode Island money, like two different LLCs. Like it's not good to do that. I mean, you can, right? I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world, but your accountant's not going to be happy.
No, and you
Not
definitely
to
don't want
be,
to do that on the regular either.
for sure.
That goes to a
Yeah.
whole other topic called piercing the
But
corporate veil, right?
right. Yeah, for sure. And so I just suggest like keeping it separate just so that way you're not getting confused. Um, yeah,
Yeah, and I think that's a good lesson for everybody. Like,
have different credit cards, have different bank accounts.
yep,
And
keep
so
them
yeah, my
separate.
accountant, she actually, because so we do QuickBooks. She's in Florida. So we go like quarterly, we'll do live Zooms, and she goes into my computer and kind of like, plays around and shows me, where I should be putting stuff. And I have, different categories for each properties that I own. Um, so when I use different credit cards, she's able to see, oh, this is for the North Providence. Oh, this is for, New Bedford. Um, but and then you get into like the fun stuff with taxes, right? That's another thing that I love to talk about is writing everything off. Your cell phone that you mentioned. I wrote that
Yeah.
off when I dropped it and broke it. I was like, okay, my business is buying me a new phone today.
Well, like you said, at least you had insurance, right? So it's like what, a $99 deductible to get a new phone.
Yep. Yep. But like even off it, like even right now, this whole room I write off. It's office space. This is literally the only room that I do work in. So that helps.
Do you write that off as a percentage of your house or a percentage of your monthly expenses? Like, what does that look like for
Yep.
people?
Everything. All of it.
Yeah, but
I
like,
clean
okay,
it, don't I? I have to clean it.
well, yeah, I get that part, but what I mean is like, so if it's one bedroom out of a three-bedroom house, do you write it off as 33%? Do you write it off as like 25% because of the square
Yeah. So
footage
you
that
have
it's
to
up? Does that
yeah,
make
you
more?
have to measure like the square footage, how much square footage it is, but
Okay, so if it's a 300 square foot room out of a 3,000 square foot house, you can write off 10%, or is that
yeah,
over?
whatever that percentage is.
Got it. That makes more sense. What about tracking like personal finance? Do you have any apps and stuff for people that maybe they aren't in the best situation, but they want to get better? Like, because I've used a few of them over the years, like Mint or Rocket Money or Albert. Like, are there any that you like?
Um, I didn't really use any. I know there was one person many years ago, they used Lexington Law. Um, they help a lot of people within like a month or two. They will send out letters for you to try to get some stuff off your name. Um, but yeah, I don't really haven't had to use any. And if, I do have a client that wants to build business credit, but not so good personal credit, I do have people I can refer them to that I've met through, you know, doing this. Um, they've been able to help other people. And then they, when they're done, they come back and start building their business credit, or sometimes they'll do both at the same time.
Yeah, I used Lexington Law at one point actually, and they're okay. I find it's kind of like keto in a way, like they send out a whole bunch of letters on your behalf for the engagement, right? And you're like, man, I'm losing all this weight, I feel great. And then like as soon as you reintroduce carbs, or as soon as they stop sending the letters, it's like, oh, all that water weight comes right back. But
Really?
a little bit, yeah. Like I mean, yes and no. Some of the stuff that Lexington did helped like on a more permanent basis, but some of the stuff like with student loans, they just were not very helpful with.
Huh. I actually have met someone through, and if anybody has like student loans, reach out to me. There's a woman that is in the other network, she is able to help people. She actually helped one of my friends. She had a $40,000 student loan. It was actually her daughter's, but she co-signed it. And so she got it down to $10,000.
But
So,
so let me ask you this too, because like I said, what I was originally asking before we got off on Lexington Law was like, is there any kind of budgeting apps or anything that you use that for your personal side? Like, because like I said, there's Mint, there's Rocket Money. They all say the same thing. They're like, we're gonna make you more aware of the subscriptions that you're paying for, or we'll help you track your credit
oh
card.
yeah, like this Rocket, yeah. So, and it's funny because my mortgage is Rocket Mortgage. I'm at North
Mhm.
Providence House. And so I always get the two of them mixed up. But especially after once I had my credit score had gone down, I kind of became obsessed with my my personal credit score. I would check it like literally every week. But Rocket, it helps you because you sign up for Netflix, you sign up for this, you sign up for that, and before you know it, you have like $200 a month coming out of your account every month, and you have no idea where it's coming from. Audibles and all the things that you sign up for, but they do help you tell you what is coming, like what is charging your account, and they will even cancel it if you don't want to use it.
Yeah, because one of the things that got me started in this space was when I was probably like 19 or 20. I started listening to a personal finance podcast. I think it was Listen Money Matters. And like they stopped doing the podcast back in 2020 when COVID started, but that was just one of the things that they did. They were like, look, you should probably have like Mint and you should learn how to build a budget and manage a calendar and do things like understand when your payments are due and how much is due and what's your minimums and how much should you pay down.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly I use my calendar on my phone, and it alerts me like, hey, pay your bill today.
Don't be a dummy, pay your bill.
Pay your bill, don't be dummy. And and you I have like, I don't know, like 10 different cards or whatever, and they're sprinkled in there all different times because everyone has, every card has a different statement ending date. Um, but I do some of them I like to, I don't know if this even helps, but if one is higher, I'll make it like a week before it's due. I don't know why I do that, but maybe it's just to sprinkle it in different paychecks. But yeah, yeah, every week I'll pay a different card.
That raises
That's how I
another
keep track of
point
it.
that I've heard this one kind of conflicted too. Like if you have multiple different balances and you're trying to get let's just say you're trying to get debt free, right? Some people say pay the biggest balance down first or pay the highest interest balance down first, whereas some people are like, no, pick the low hanging fruit so then you can snowball it as they call it, right? And then you can throw all of your money at the big beast and you can slay the dragon later. What do you kind of recommend?
I so here's the thing, right? You can't make money grow. You either have $200 or $2,000 or whatever, and that's all you've got. And you've got a $10,000 credit line on this card, or whatever. Um, so if you got 2 grand to pay your bills, you got 2 grand. And I say pay the higher one percentage, because it's like you could get to a point where you're just paying interest.
Mm-hmm.
It's never going down. So if you can pay a little extra on that card to kind of pay it down a little bit, that's, what is it? NYNAB.
Yeah, I've
Right.
heard of it. I haven't used it before. Like I said, I've used Mint and I've used Rocket Money, but so you're saying it doesn't really matter, right? Like, I mean, I guess at the end of the day, probably pay the highest interest rate one first
I
because
for sure would say that, yeah, because
that's
like
gonna cost you more in the long run.
you're never getting rid of that bill if you don't pay that a little extra. If your interest payment's $200 and you only have, I don't know, $500 to pay your bills, what do? Do you pay the $200 minimum here and then pay the rest of them? I would say
Well,
pay a little extra, so at least it'll go down.
the argument I heard for the low-hanging fruit or the snowball method is that you're looking at the overall blended average of all the debt that you carry, right? So,
Mhm.
like, if you can get out of debt sooner on smaller things, like, right? Because, like, obviously, you're not going to pay off your mortgage before you pay off your credit cards. That's just reality. That's always going to be a lower interest rate. However, what they say is, like, if you have a couple $1,000s left on your card note, versus paying off your credit cards, which has a higher balance, you should pay off the card note first, because then you can take all of that money from the card note and from the credit cards and throw it all at the credit cards and pay it down.
Yeah. I didn't realize you were putting like car and house and all that stuff too, but yeah.
Well, some people, I've heard it go both ways. Some people you look at the overall blended debt of like the
Mhm.
household, and some people just look at it as the blended debt amongst credit cards, because there can be a wide disparity between credit cards too, right? Like you might get a 12% credit card. Not everybody even qualifies for those, but if you get one, you get one. And you might also have a 29% credit card.
Mhm.
There's no telling. Everybody's case is different.
Yep, that's true.
But one thing I really want to hit on with you, because you and I talk about this a little bit on the side chat, which is if people are looking to make extra money, what's some of the things that they can do? Because you and I have talked about like some affiliate marketing and kind of getting affiliate codes for things that you really use and believe in.
Um, yeah, I've learned since, quitting my job and doing this full time that you have to have like 5 or 6 different streams of income. If you don't, you can't put your eggs in all one basket. But I mean, there's so many different things, right? Digital marketing. There's, yeah, I'm still learning like all the different ways to make money.
Well, what's some of the things that you do that you do now? Like I know you and I talked about getting like we get referrals sometimes for people like into SubTo, or if there's like a software or something that you utilize and it's critical to your business every day,
Mhm.
and you're probably talking about it anyway. Like why wouldn't you go get that affiliate
Right.
code?
Affiliate. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, there's even though I do love Chase Bank, there's a little gift there too if you refer. There's a chaos challenge that I threw out there just recently because I told you I've been talking to Bill Welch in SubTo the last like few weeks.
Hmm.
And he's really helped me out, and he has like a chaos challenge. So I threw that out there because any type of organizing, if you have like shiny object syndrome like I do and you want to get your hands into everything, um yeah, Bill Welch, yeah, he's awesome. um he'll get you organized for sure. Yeah.
Maybe I need to reach out to Bill just one.
And yeah, and same thing with SubTo. I've referred quite a few people to SubTo because I think everybody should be in SubTo. If you're in real estate investing, I think just the community that itself is just so different. I've learned so much from everyone. And I've barely even like touched the surface of training. I've just learned so much from you all. It's crazy. So I love referring people to SubTo, and they give you a little extra thank you for doing so.
Yeah, which changes from,
I love
from month to
everybody
month.
doing
If
that.
they do a promo, sometimes it goes up and sometimes it's pretty steady though.
Yeah, but what I love about SubTo is not only do you get a thank you for referring, but the person who's signing up also gets sometimes it's 800, sometimes it's $1,000 off, which is crazy.
Yeah, I like that too. They take it off of both sides of the equation. So you get the referral bonus, but whatever you
Yes.
get directly compensated for, they take it off of the other person's bill.
Yep, which is very cool. Yeah. So somebody who I think it's like what 9,800 right now, I think, something like
97,
that.
98, something like
So
that.
you can get in for like, yeah. And so around the summit, it was like $1,000 off. So you can get in for 8,800. I think I got like 2 people in at that point, which
Yeah,
was
I
awesome.
got one person in during March when they bumped it to 1,000. So
Yeah.
they pay you 1,000, but they also give 1,000 off of that other person's bill. So instead of it being 97 or 98, it was like 87 or 88.
Yeah. Which is very cool. Which I wish I knew somebody back then when I signed up, but
Yeah, Lynn brought up a good point. She said it makes it seem so much more sincere when you are telling them that it's not all about you, and it's not. In fact, what I tell people is it's like, look, if you have business partners, you all pay one price. Like you get them in, and that's how you really, if you had to hack your way into SubTo, that's how you do it, is you split the cost between one, two, or even three people. And that makes it far more palatable because so many people bitch and whine and, oh, I don't have $900 a month. I don't have $2,000 a month. It's like, well, then don't pay that. But find somebody that's serious that you're going to run with that you is your ride or die and going on it with them.
yep. I joined with somebody else.
Yeah, like
We
Lynn
just
has a
shared
car.
costs, which was amazing. Yep.
Yep.
When they ever told me that, I was blown away. I'm like, are you kidding me? So, and
Yeah,
yeah.
don't be a dummy like me, guys. I didn't know anybody. I just jumped into it head first. I'm like, oh, fuck it, I'll do it. I'll figure it out. I'll learn.
Yeah.
I had no idea. And, granted, I work, Dawn and I joke about this all the time. Like, I'm the salesman that worked the salesman, right? Like, I got a little bit better financing terms than what they typically offer. But a lot of times you have to know that everything's negotiable too, right? Like, credit card interest rates are negotiable.
Mhm.
They can be. Now, if your credit sucks, don't go in there expecting to get 12%. You're not
Right.
gonna.
Yeah.
However, um, if you have really good credit and they offer you 15, you might be like, I think you could do better.
Mm. And that's another thing that I love about the 0% interest credit cards. You can really utilize that for like EMD funding, or if you need gap funding, if you have a loan that's you're getting 90%, 100% rehab, and all you need is 10%. Use one of those cards.
Yeah.
And now you're really coming in with zero money, right? And the smaller chunk, I mean, it's only 10%, but still 10% could be $100,000. Now you're using that for a 0% interest.
Just make sure you do it for something super secure, like either A, an operator that you really, really trust for EMD, or B, you do it for something like a Morby method where the money never actually leaves escrow.
Well, yeah, but I also mean like EMD on if you were going to buy a property too.
Well, that too, right? Because if you can buy a cash flowing asset, then it could end up, and especially if it's a good exit strategy for you and you know what you're doing, that could be the thing that pays off your credit cards every month.
Right. Yeah. And that's what they show in the Gator method. That's literally what they tell Gators, build your business credit and use one of those credit cards because you only need 5 grand to do earnest money deposit, right? So you lend out 5,000 and you, what, 3, 4 weeks later, you get your money back. It's like 8,000, you get it back, you pay your 5,000 off before the bill's even due.
That, and I'm gonna give
And then
y'all
you
one
got
of
three
my
thousand dollars
favorite
extra in
hacks.
pocket.
I'll give y'all
Huh?
one of I'll give y'all one of my favorite hacks. It's way underrated, which is just take the knowledge and the skill set that you already have and leverage that as your side hustle. Like I had a guy that told me he's like, "Oh, Sub-2's too expensive. I'm cutting grass on the side. I'm dying outside. It's so hot, like up here in New England, whatever, whatever." And I said, first of all, bro, like I know what hot is. Like I work outside every day, and I'm in Louisiana. Like it is hot as shit. It is
Mm-hmm.
humid. There's days we can't even take the dog for a walk because the sidewalks are too hot. It burns their pads. So we have to go like at night. And that's rough. I get it. I said, dude, you're a software engineer by day. right? Like find the high leverage skill sets or the high demand skill sets that you have, and then go in these groups, go in the creative Facebook group, go in the SubTo group, and tell people like he's a software engineer, so I wouldn't use a software engineer as your word. I would use integrator because that's the buzzword going around right now.
For sure.
Right? The ratio of integrator to visionary or visionary to integrator is 3 to 1. So for every three, there's one. So it's like being left-handed. Like baseball teams are always looking for the next best left-handed pitcher. Well, if you're a lefty, don't you think you should learn how to be a pitcher if you're into baseball? Don't you think that's how you would be the best high value target to be acquired by a professional team? You know? I'm
I'm a
curious,
lefty.
do you have any other skill sets like that that you leverage outside of doing what you do in real estate and also a little bit of affiliate marketing here and there?
So not really.
I mean, I never posed that question to you before either, so like I had no idea. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't, but
So, I mean, I've done a few flips and I've actually learned that you could be a loan sponsor. So that's always a nice thing to be able to offer somebody who's brand new and has never done a flip before, right? To offer that experience. I love, helping people out with I love comping, actually. I'm really good at comping. So I get a lot of people, um, even the ones that have been in there longer than me, they're like, can you help me comp properties? I don't know. I'm good with math, I'm good with numbers, and I don't know. I love to find those little gems. And so, yeah, there's like I thought Nathaniel would be on here, Nate King. I thought he would come, but he, we usually do like a weekly comp. He'll throw some, properties my way and we'll do that, get some practice in. But, I don't know, what else do I like to do?
I was gonna say
Scope of
John
work.
I do that sometimes too. We'll practice comps. Sorry, what were you trying to say, Lynn? I mean, what were you trying to say, Dawn?
Oh, just scope of work. I like to do that. I like to help people get that together. And also, the draws. So the new flippers, they don't really understand the draw system.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
I've
A
been able
lot
to
of
help a
them
few
don't.
people out with that. Huh?
I said that's true. Most of them don't. I didn't realize how many people don't understand the draw system because I've never done a flip, so I didn't understand the draw system until my regional leader explained it to me. But why don't you explain it here just so that way people can have that knowledge?
Yeah. So when you buy a property and no, I don't. I don't. I can't charge everything, you know. You gotta be good and help out people once in a while. Nancy asked you charge people to comp for them. Um, I mean, honestly, it takes what, 15-20 minutes to comp, if that. Um, but so yeah, the draw, it's what people don't realize is they have to have the money up front, or at least the first draw, right? So if you're doing a flip and your rehab is like $50,000, you have to pay your first draw. So it may be $10,000, right? And then you just um yeah. Um, and then you have to take pictures, and it depends on your private money lender, how they structure it. But I remember my first one, my private money lender, like he didn't even care. I would just go online and do a Zoom with him, and I would show him like, what I did, and he's like, yep, that's good. And like within 24 hours, the money was put back in. And then so, if you spent 10 grand on updating a property and you got your 10 grand back, now use that 10 grand to do your next phase of rehab. And then my second one, I think I told you about this one. I used Easy Street, and they were not so easy. They lie.
You don't say.
They lie. And even the paperwork, just to get the loan. And that was another thing too. My first loan, I knew it was going to be a lot of money, because you're a brand new investor, right? So I had to pay 13% and 3 points. And I was like, you know what? This is my first one. I know the second one will be better. And you just make your payments on time, you sell the house, and you're good. My second one was 9.9% and 2.2, I think it was 2.5 points. So I went from 13 to 9.9%. It's a big difference.
Huge.
So now for my next one, of course, it'll be even less. So I'm able to help someone out, a brand new investor, if they don't want to pay 13%, if they're, the spread's not that big. I could sponsor a loan and get that low interest rate for them. You're freezing a little bit.
Yeah, you are. You've been on
Me?
it. Yeah, you were freezing a little bit.
Oh, because you've been freezing.
No, you.
I don't know why. I'm upstairs in my house. So when they use the microwave downstairs, it messes up my computer.
I'm sure it's a government conspiracy theory that we're just
Oh,
not
yeah.
aware of yet.
Dawn, but not Adam for me. Oh, okay.
Yep. Dawn, it's
So
all
maybe
you.
somebody
It's all your
freezing
fault.
for me. Just
Only
briefly.
Dawn has
Okay,
been
then.
freezing for me. It's-
Maybe they were using the microwave downstairs.
They're calling you out.
I was doing an interview with for another group that I have with the women. I interview partners, and I was in the middle of recording the whole thing. We were almost done, and then somebody downstairs said using the microwave, completely lost the Zoom, shut down my computer. I'm like, I don't know what's going on.
Oh, dude, that's the worst. But Nancy, to also address what you said, okay, I agree, help people with comping, underwriting, and pitch decks. So I was curious. Yes, always lead with value and always help people. My caveat to that is if they're constantly coming back like a repeat customer and they're just using you, like, hey, guess what, Dawn, I got another property for you to comp and it's only been like 2 days. And
Yeah.
then like, all right, bro, like maybe sit down. Like maybe let's have a little chat. Like, uh, uh, I'm gonna have to start charging you. I'm sending an invoice for this, and I joke with people about that. I joke with them and I tell them I'm gonna send them an invoice for $1,000 for building their borrowing package. It's not real. That's not true. I don't send invoices for that. But like what we do on the connector side is we make them fill out a form and we just build the borrower package for them most of the time because it's a super small value add that we can do, but it reduces the friction on our side when we introduce it to our private money lenders because we know what they're looking for. And it reduces the friction on your side too because it's one less thing you have to do. Now, more often than not, they come with borrower packages. I hate to say this, but most of them suck. Is the truth. Like probably 9.5 out of 10 of them are not sufficient to get lended on. They're usually missing critical pieces of information. They're not long enough. That it's unclear. The language just isn't clear, or they make you do the math. And so we usually offer to build it for them, and it's a small thing that we just do. And I mean, what are we worried about the 15 or 20 minutes it takes, especially if we're asking for 4% as a connector fee or what have you, you know?
Right. 4%, huh?
I usually tell people 2 to 4%, depending on how easy it is. Like if it's a laydown, yeah, sure, whatever. I don't care. Just throw me like 2% as a referral fee for making introduction to you
Yeah.
to a lender for you. We also have hard money lenders that we can utilize in different scenarios, and they throw us a kickback too. So sometimes, again, we don't go up as high as we could because we're like, maybe the deal doesn't have that much margin. We're just really trying to help this person out. Maybe they gave us ample amounts of time, so we're really not stressed about it in the first place. Like I usually tell people 2 to 4.
Mhm.
3 or 4 is pretty standard. but it's also not high enough it'll kill a deal in most cases, unless the deal is just that paper thin as far as margins go.
Mhm. How long do you need for to do a connector deal?
I think it depends. I usually tell people 3 to 6 weeks, and they're like, 3 to 6 weeks, that's so long. And it's like, yeah, it is, but what I find is communicating with borrowers and lenders is hard enough as it is. Like everybody's busy. A lot of lenders have W-2s, and so they don't get back to you like right away. They're not full time, just like refreshing their email, waiting for your email
Yeah,
through.
that's what
And
I do. Where is it?
I think a lot of people have that like misconception that like lenders have like nothing better to do all day long but to look at numbers because they're good at math. And,
Mm.
being good at math is a skill set you can monetize too. Like you were talking about that earlier, Lynn. I didn't realize I was as good at basic arithmetic as I was until like I sat down at Easter one day and we were talking about how much money you could save just moving 45 minutes away from Louisiana into Mississippi. And I was like, well, if your insurance decreases by this much, and let's say between that and your taxes and your vehicle registration, let's say you save $1,000 a month, that's 12 months, that's 12 grand a year. And I rattled it off just like that. My grandpa looked at me, he's like, you did all that fast? And I was like, yeah, can't everybody?
No.
They're like, Todd, you probably could,
Yep.
but it goes to show you, right? Like, not everybody could do that,
Yeah. No. Yeah,
So,
I had seen in the other group somebody thought they were paying $30,000 on a 10%, what was it? $300,000 loan, 10% interest, and she thought she was paying $30,000. I'm like, how is that $30,000?
yeah, that's my favorite is when you have to ask
I
them, like, okay, hold on, walk me through your math. Like, Dawn, tell me how you got to this part.
Well, I mean, 300,000, she probably just said 10% of 300,000, but that's not that's not how it goes.
No, that's not actually how it's calculated, but
Well, I mean, everybody's new at some point, and so we all got to learn that. But I was able to tell her, no, it's, by the year, so 10%, and then divided by 12. And if you're only holding it for a couple months, you just pay that.
yep,
And the points, 2 points is 0.02%.
right. Which is why a lot of people like the 12% APY because it's super easy. It's literally a point per month. If you're
Hmm.
holding it for 3 months, you pay 3%.
Yeah. Do you
Just
have private money lenders or borrowers, I should say, paying like up to 20% interest?
oh yeah, yeah. It
Really?
depends on the deal. It depends on the borrower. It depends on a lot of, and it depends on the exit strategy too. Um, Not next weekend, but the weekend after that, I'm going to be doing this Zoom will be with Logan Bowers, who's a PML and a PMP, and I'm just going to call it PML Mythbusters because he's really good at helping debunk like what qualifies for usury and what doesn't qualify. Like how do you
Yeah,
properly secure somebody in an equity deal, especially if it's a low equity SubTo? Like I didn't realize how high risk it was to be a PML or a PMP,
of
and
course. Yeah.
it's low equity if you're in second position.
Yep.
Like
Both
why is
both
a
my loans, I didn't have to pay back if I didn't want to, the way it was
like
structured.
why is a personal guarantee not sufficient? Why do you need cross collateral if they're in second position? And if they're in second position, why do they want first position cross collateral? Like all these things are important for you to know before you go ask for the money. Because if
Mhm.
not, you're just going to think that they're asking you to sign contracts in blood and that they want too much. And granted, some of them do want a lot of security. But at the end of the day, it is their money. And for that reason alone, right, like they have to secure it however they feel best secured. Where you put all payments on the back end and did not make payments during the life of the renovation, or is that not really a typical ask? And that it depends on experience, is what I'll say. I've seen it go both ways.
Mhm.
Um, Experience dictates terms, and it dictates all terms. Your experience in private money lending or private money partnering is the equivalent to your credit score. And your experience, like if
Experience.
yeah, if you're doing 5 to 10 flips a year, I guarantee you we can find you a private money lender that will let you just wrap all of the interest into the back end of the loan, and you just pay it upon exit. However, if you're like, this is my first flip, yeah, you're probably not getting that good of terms. Like, they're probably gonna
No.
want higher interest rates. They're probably gonna want, a little bit more stringent timelines with extra security clauses in there as to how they can get that equity back on the off chance that you default, because you don't have the experience to show them that you're not going to default. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so that's one of those things that like you just have to kind of weigh it out too, and you have to shop around. That's the other thing. Is like talk to a bunch of different private money lenders because each and every one is different. I'm not saying go with the cheapest one. That's definitely not always the case, or not always the best option. But go with the one that you feel the best about. Go with the one that you drive with the best, that you have a good relationship with. If Dawn might offer me higher interest than Lynn would, but if Dawn and I get along better, and again, like if the security clauses are different, um, I might be more likely to go with Dawn over Lynn. Just do what makes you feel the most comfortable, I guess.
Mm. I've actually, there are companies out there that I work with that does do 100%, like true 100%. I have yet to see a deal that works in the borrower's benefit. I mean, if it's your first deal and you're expecting to like make 10 grand and you're happy with that, then it could work. And you're just trying to build capital. But, if you're doing 100%, the interest rate is going to be really, really high.
Hmm. I see that a
And
lot.
the whole bulk of the loan is every single month interest payments. So it gets really, really expensive real fast.
Yeah, but like I said too, the amount of the LTV that they're willing to cover is also dictated by your interest. I've seen some of them go as low as 70% LTV. 80 is pretty standard for people with less or lower amounts of experience, and then 90 is pretty standard for people that have a decent amount or a good amount of experience that they would consider to be like advanced, probably 10 HUDs a year. So all of those things always play out into the life of your loan, and like I said, just keep that in mind, because I tell people on a connector deal up front, like, hey, we're going to put this out to a lot of different lenders, and we're going to get back term sheets on every which side of the spectrum. However, keep in mind that no matter what, they are loaning to own, so whatever they request is what makes them feel the most secure, that if even if you do default, that they don't get harmed in the process, right? That's that's the end all be all, is the borrower takes the majority of the risk in any transaction, no matter what kind of exit strategy or property it is. I'm sure you see that a lot too, huh, Dawn?
Yeah, I love to do I love to help out with the loans. But it can get very expensive. And so we do pretty much 90%, and then we find private money lenders to kind of come in with the rest if you need to, private money partners. But
You, You were asking about the 20%. What I see is that's mostly in the really, really short term, like those bridge gap funds, the like 3 months or less.
Yeah.
And sometimes people are asking for 20% for super long term stuff, like think over 12 months, like 18 months, 2 years, 3 years, because they know that money's going to be locked up and it's going to be parked and they don't have access to it for a long time.
Right. Right. Yep. That is so funny. I say this all the time to investors that finding money, I have found it to be the easiest part of investing.
Now, finding cheap money is different. I think that's the caveat to that. Wouldn't you agree?
I'm I mean, I don't know. What do you mean cheap money?
I mean, like, it's not hard to find money. People will
No.
lend money on deals all day long. But if you go in there with the wrong expectations, if you're like, well, I will only do this deal only pencils out at 10% money or 12% money, like, well, you're gonna have a hard time. Like, you're gonna struggle, and then you're gonna come back and you're gonna look at Dawn and I, you're gonna be like, there's no money anywhere to be found. And it's like, no, there is, but there's no reasonable
There
expectation
is,
for
yeah.
you to find either. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
And sometimes, people want it to be a deal, but sometimes it's just not a deal.
That too. I see that a lot. A lot of times. So I'll give you all a super common one with flips. New flippers go out, they lock up this really big property. They're like, it's a 4,000 square foot property, it's a 5,000 square foot property. And I got it for only like 420 because it's in a state like Texas or whatever. And you're like, okay, cool, what's the ARV? Well, the ARV is like 625 or it's 650. So that's huge, right? That's $200,000 spread. Well, by the time you start calculating the interest rate and the rehab costs, the percentage of the true ARV is above what their experience dictates they can get on LTV. And we had that happen. These people were too illiquid, um, and it ended up being a learning experience for them. They weren't liquid enough um, to cover that additional 3 or 4% they went above the true ARV. In fact, he messaged me this morning that he's like, "Yeah, we're not going to do flips for a little bit." Because even though they were only doing like floors, paint, light fixtures, and some updating on a 5,000 square foot house, that's $68,000.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
basic, guys, because you're paying to renovate by the square foot a lot of times, not just by the lineup.
Yeah. Alex said, the lack of knowledge on flipping houses amongst most people, to me, is extremely high. Google is not your friend when estimating rehab pricing.
No, no, it is
No.
not, Alex. You're totally right.
And it depends on where you're flipping too, right?
Yeah, because material costs are different everywhere. Like, Grady's somebody I talked to a lot, and Grady was living in Alaska. So he was looking at deals in Alaska. I bet most people don't know that materials up there cost twice as much because they only get shipments in like once a month.
Yeah. Yeah. Regional estate, yeah. Yeah. So, you see these houses that, like, my rehab budget is what their entire house cost.
Hmm.
What?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you said
very
too,
different.
there's some people that they're like, oh, well, I had one guy, he wanted to come to me, he wanted a rehab, but it was to the sticks. So the rehab was worth more than the as is value of the home. And you can probably guess he didn't get a loan on that one.
Yeah, yeah. I have one that I'm looking at tomorrow. I really want it so bad, and we'll see if it works out. But the ARV on it is 425, and they only owe, I think it was like 175, I think is what they owe.
Mhm.
And it's been sitting on the market for 349 days, and it's a foreclosure property.
Yeah, you were telling me about that. The bank was just being greedy on it.
I want it, but we'll see. I mean, a house that's been sitting that long, who knows? what that looks like. Who knows? But I mean, it was a 1960, so it's not like, most of the houses here in New England are at least 100 years old. So this
Right.
one's kind of a baby. This is a new house here.
New Orleans is the same way. You find them in the 40s and 60s. You're like, dude, that's nice considering that some of these are like 1880.
Yes, a lot. Yeah. And so we'll see. We'll see tomorrow, but I'm excited.
One little trick I picked up from my regional leader, who is a professional fix and flipper of like 20 years. What he does is he has one PML that asks no questions. Like this dude knows and he deploys huge amounts of capital really quickly, but he's expensive. So
Mm.
they make sure that all their deals pencil out at 18%. If it doesn't pencil at 18%, they don't even touch it. Why? Well, can they get money cheaper than 18%? Yes, of course.
Mm.
However, they know if any of those other PMLs fall through, they have one person they can always, always go to and they can trust him. And guess what?
Mm.
Deal still pencils out.
Yep.
So if you have something and it doesn't pencil out at a lower interest rate, it's probably not that good of a deal to begin with. Or I mean, if it doesn't pencil out at a relatively high interest rate, like I would say probably if you're just starting, see if it pencils out at 20. Just see. Because if it does, chances are you're probably doing pretty good.
Right. Lynn's taking off. Bye, Lynn. Thank you.
I love her. Her and Grace are both
I
so
know.
cool.
I know.
But yeah, guys, so let's see. Yep, Lynn said bye.
They're both real nice.
Dawn, should we talk about what we were thinking about or should we hold that?
What were we thinking about?
Our little side project that we meet on weekly now.
Huh?
I said our little side project that we meet on weekly now. That we started meeting on.
Oh,
Or do you want to save that?
I don't know. You can mention it. I mean, maybe somebody here would be interested. Do it, Alex said. Do it.
Well, Alex is big and scary, so we probably should. You know what? Alex looks like he could eat us for breakfast. So Dawn and I had an
Yeah,
interesting.
sorry, man. I'm grilling outside right now, so I'm sure you'd like to be here too, all them steaks and chicken, but that's why I've
Nice.
stayed quiet and had my camera off. So
That's
sorry for
awesome.
interrupting. Please continue.
Oh well,
Yeah, no worries.
like I said, Alex just stands up and his head goes in the clouds.
They're usually the biggest teddy bears. That's so true. Yeah.
Oh, they are, and I got the chance to meet Alex in Orlando, and we had a lot of fun, and he loves the joke, so I just keep him rolling. I'm like, bro, you don't have to find out, you don't have to look at the weather report. You just stand up and your hair gets wet.
I'm sure he's never heard that one before.
No, I'm sure
Alex.
he probably has a special set shoe just for him too. But so Dawn and I were thinking about doing our own little mastermind similar to what Jesse Stanton does. And because Jesse is coaching people through their REI journey. And Dawn would bring the knowledge on the money, and I would bring the knowledge on the mindset as well as working with the private money lenders to help people really grow a little bit faster. And it would be kind of like this, like we've done for the last couple hours here, but we would probably do these calls at least once a week inside the group. And you guys would get exclusive content that'd be inside the group. Am I missing anything, Dawn?
Yeah. I got you on the rehab general contractor side. Nice. Yeah, I think, and honestly, when I first joined, I had been in a mentorship for 2 years prior. And when I met Adam, even before I met Adam, I would just read his posts. And I'm like, this dude has changed my life. The way he's allowed me to kind of get all the stuff out of my head, because as I've learned through SubTo, a visionary, and I think of so much things all the time. And it just sits in my head. And here comes Adam, like with his whole mindset bull crap, telling me to, get it out of my head, and just some of his posts. And I think that was such a game changer for me, really. I learned so much about myself just from those posts. And I had already been in a mentorship for 2 years. I was doing the things, I was doing flips and all the things, whatever, lending and all that stuff. But in order to like scale and really just move forward, you need that. Some people just need that mind shift, right? It was like a light bulb just went off, like, holy crap.
Yeah, because I think one of the first things you connected with me on was you were like, I'm going through this damn course, but I already know how to flip. But my MSA keeps telling me to go through the course. I've already done at least 2 flips, and I know what I'm doing, and I know what my credit is, and I know what I can do. And I was like, then why the fuck are you doing the course? Like, well, because the MSA told me to do it. And I said, okay, cool. I'm telling you not to do it. Listen to me then.
Yeah. Well, because, I mean, you're new, and so you want to do the things that they're telling you to do, right? I mean, I just spent like almost 10 grand on this program. So, but yeah. But I think I don't know what Jesse Stanton's doing in his group. You know more than I do, but I think mindset is just such a huge, huge, huge piece. And helping with the business credit, helping people find money in their business. I love that. I love to find money.
And just like this, guys, we'd probably bring in special guests like Alex is saying he can help you on the rehab general contracting side. Like, okay, cool. Well, what if I bring Alex in for an hour and that's all he does is he just shows you how to estimate, whether it's through photos or through spreadsheets or through whatever information you have. Like, hey, Alex is going to show you this is how you get a good ballpark estimate of what the what the rehab's going to be on this property before you go and even put an offer in. And he said, absolutely, mindset is everything, totally underestimated. Yeah, if this big
100%.
motherfucker calls me for a mindset correction, then they all probably should too. I told him that the other day. I was like, I ain't scared of you. But like, and same thing, like Dawn could do a whole session on just comping. And what we'd probably do is create a library where people could go back and review all this. The only thing we haven't decided on yet is I think how much time we want to put into it week to week and what we would ask for, like monetarily, for people to join the group. But I figured I would throw it out here because you guys could kind of give us your feedback on it and what you think, if you think that stuff is needed, if what you think it's worth, how and what kind of people you would want to hear from.
I think also too, that whole analysis paralysis, we have that in our other group. I mean,
your other group
I have
and
people, I have a, am I freezing? What?
I said you said in our other group. I said, you mean in your other
Oh, in
group?
my other group, yeah. Like,
yeah, I look like I belong in your other group. I mean, nowadays I might. If I put on a dress, they might let me in.
But yeah, it is a real thing. People just, they know what to do. They've been taught it, but it's another thing to execute on it, right?
Yeah,
and things are gonna get messed up. I'm sorry, this is real estate. Things are gonna get messed up, but as long as you can pivot, and that was the biggest thing that I learned about myself, was that come hell or high water, I was not giving up. And I just pivoted my strategy and got it done.
Yeah, I mean, there's multiple different ways to execute, but I think, what people underestimate is they're not always executing at the highest level. A lot of people are doing busy work. They're like, oh, well, I'm comping 100 properties. Well, that's great. How many offers did you put in?
Right.
They're avoiding the harder work to try to make it easier on themselves. They want to go, they want to talk big high level strategy with other students. It's like, okay, but how many cold calls did you make today? Well, I made 10. Okay, but you're not going to get anywhere close to a contract with 10 fucking cold calls.
Yeah.
You're just not. One of the best wholesalers in my area, him and his whole team, he has 3 or 4 cold callers. Each one of them has to make 250 a week to get to 3 contracts.
Wow.
So that's 50 a day, 5 days a week. That's 3 contracts. And I think out of those 3 contracts, they get 1 deal. So they're doing roughly like 2 to 4 deals a month, depending on how many people they have on board and what their KPIs look like. But you know, these are things you need to know. And your numbers are going to suck at first. That's the other thing. You might have to make 300. You might have to make 350 a week. You might have to work Saturdays. All those things are possible and likely, mind you. They're likely. But it's through the reps that you get better and that you can dial those numbers down. Who's to say that you can't get to 150 calls a week and 5 contracts? Who the fuck knows? But you got to start. Yeah, I'm not that person either. I don't have the temperament for it. I tell people that all the time. They're like, you should just cold call. Like, nah, I'm not doing that. And they're like, why not? Because I'm not getting cursed out. I'll throw hands.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't like it. I did do a Facebook campaign that went pretty well. I ended up getting 4 or 5. I just recently got one because she let it go a little longer than usual. It was supposed to just be 2 months, and we started it in February. Yeah, and it's still going. So,
you reminded me we could bring in Grace for and do an hour social media masterclass.
That would be awesome.
Because Grace was one of the people we were talking to do the marketing for this, just like how Jesse had him and Chris primarily run it, or him and Carlin Hostert, depending on which one of his groups you're talking about. But Haley Kretschmer is the one that does all the marketing.
Alex said his wife does
digital ad agency.
Digital ad agency. She owns one. Yeah. That's
well,
awesome.
If she wants to post some unhinged shit on Facebook like Haley does.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of y'all follow Haley, but that girl is wild. Y'all only think I'm wild.
I don't know how you keep up with everyone. Honest to God, and get work done.
I mean, I'll just show y'all. Like, I stay up late, but this is what my calendar looks like on average.
My calendar looks worse. Is it? What's this?
I'm sure yours does. Mine's relatively empty this week. I've got a few people on the call for tomorrow, but tomorrow's relatively empty. I've got a couple of Zooms I hop in. Some of these are placeholders. Now this was last week, which was clearly busier. Sometimes the calls start at 7, 8 a.m. and sometimes they don't go. And sometimes they go until 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. But I make sure before I put my head on that pillow that everyone on this stupid thing right here, all the notifications are gone. All the Facebook messages have been replied to. All the emails have been sent. All the comments have been replied to. And text too.
Well, then when all that happens, you better hurry up and go right to bed, because 10 minutes later you're gonna get another one. Like, it doesn't stop.
No, it doesn't. But like I said, I'm usually laying in bed, like replying to them with the stupid thing in front of my face like this.
Yeah.
Finally done. I call it at a certain point, like you're saying, throw the stupid thing over there because it's always on silent. Because if not, I'm a light sleeper. It's always on silent. And then the rest of them, guess what? They get answered whenever I wake up. And sometimes that's 4 in the morning, and sometimes it's 5 or 6.
Yeah.
People are like, dude, what are you doing? Why are you up this early? Are you insane? Did you only get 6 hours of sleep last night? I'm like, yeah, I did. But I still show the fuck up because that's the promise I made to myself that I'd do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Have you ever not been able to get a hold of me, Dawn?
No. I mean, if you're busy, you just say, I'll call you right back.
And don't I always call you right back?
Yes. I mean, it could be an hour later, but yeah.
Sometimes it could be 3 or 4 hours later, but you know, it's establishing what your core values are and living by them. For me, communicating proactively is one of those, and operating with high level integrity is another. So if I tell you I'm going to do something, I'm A, going to communicate to you how I'm going to do it or how I'm going to fix it. And B, I'm going to make sure it gets done.
Right.
So like I said, all my emails got sent. Everything got replied to. I'll probably go hop into Facebook here real quick and see if anybody else is interested in our deals, and I'll reply to those too. So if anybody wants to buy deals in Texas, we got forward dispoing right now. Shameless plug.
Eh,
A light industrial triple net, 15 unit multifamily and 2 single families, all in Texas. So
those properties look good. You should have thrown them up there.
I can actually, because I just sent the email not that long
I
ago.
can always throw them in my other group too, by the way, if you need me to. Because most of the people in that group, they're all in Texas. Like 80%
Really?
of them. Yes.
Yeah, so I'll keep this quick because I usually cut it off at the top of the hour, but right now we have this is the triple net lease, and I believe it's absolute triple net, which means that they cover literally everything except for the building itself and the insurance, but they're covering like maintenance, repairs, all that kind of good stuff. It's 19 grand a month. And I have all of this too. You can see like in that high note link is where the financials and the marketing materials are, like the pro forma, rent rolls, so on. Uvalde is the 15 unit. They're asking $1 million, 69K per door on average, where it's usually 85 to 90K for a unit. 13% IRR, 25% down. That's the NOI. Caps a little bit on just above 7.5%. Building size. And these are funny. Dawn, you'd get a kick out of this because we were talking about the properties. These are tiny, but because they're in downtown Austin, like a
Oh, yeah,
2-1,
they're tiny, huh?
that's only 1,100 square feet. Over here is probably worth like 100 and something, but because it's in Austin and it's like kind of close to downtown Austin,
Yeah.
it's 420.
Yep. Jumped up.
And some of the comps again reflect that. Like if you look here,
Oh, wow.
650, 675, 649. 649, that's almost the same square footage, 1,200.
Right. I'm sure if somebody was flipping that, they could squeeze 100 square feet in there somewhere, add another bedroom.
Yeah, I think all of them have somewhere, I think they have notes somewhere on these towards the bottom. Or I think I might have thrown them
Clean, huh?
yeah, this one's pretty clean. Like they're not heavy rehabs at all.
Yeah.
Probably touch up maybe, but
Wow. Yeah, somebody in my other group would grab that in a second.
I'll forward you the email after this. But yeah, that one is same thing, 330, 2-1, 6. This one's 600 square feet.
Wow, it's tiny.
I find it hilarious though, because it's built in 61. So that's like a tiny home before they were calling them tiny homes.
Right?
And again,
330 for 600 square feet.
yeah. The only thing I don't like about this one is the comps are a little bit
Yeah.
tough to make because
Little
you
too
can
much.
see that the square footage is a little bit too high
Yep.
for this one. But like I said,
Yeah. 850 is like the highest really you want to go.
yeah, well, I was gonna say I try not to go with a variance more than 250 square feet. So
Yeah.
you're right, 850 square feet would be the maximum that you want to do on this. And
Mhm.
guys, this is all stuff that again, if Dawn and I were to do our own mastermind group, this is stuff that we would teach inside the group as well.
Mhm.
Let's see. And that said, thank you for your time, Adam and Dawn. This is great today. I appreciate your time. I have to drop at the top of the hour, but would love to jump into any other opportunities you provide, and I can help on the cash flow finance side anytime. I'm a former corporate finance executive
Oh,
and numbers.
nice. Well, that's awesome.
Dawn, why don't you drop your number in the chat? I'll do
Oh,
that
yeah, sure.
too. And Annette, you feel free to text either or both of us, and let's stay in touch.
Yeah, I'd love to.
You sent it to me, dummy.
What?
You sent your number to me.
Oh, why is it direct message? That's weird. Is it a default?
No. I messaged you earlier and you didn't read it.
Oh, I wasn't even on yet.
Yes, you were.
I was well, I kept popping in and out because I literally signed in with my company, my company Zoom, and it kept switching over to my Facebook group, the Successful Investing Sisterhood. So I'm like, why does it keep doing that? So if I shut my camera off, you see my Successful Investing Sisterhood. So annoying.
Well, Dawn, on that, any final remarks that we should leave people with?
Yeah, if you need to find money in your business, give me a call. Adam, same thing, you know, he's capital raiser. So if you have a deal, you want to run it by either one of us or both of us, we can both help you get that property funded. I mean, Adam just showed you 3 of them. If you're interested in any of them, I'm sure Adam just got the funds for it.
Yeah, 4 of them, and we have good HMLs that will get you up to 80 or 90% LTV depending on the experience. So
Yep. And just keep going, keep grinding. I don't know if anybody, I think Paula, I don't think she's a SubTo student. I could be wrong, but yeah, if you're interested in joining SubTo, give us a ring. We'd
yeah,
love
that
to
one
have
threw me
you.
through a loop because my mom's name is also Paula Miller.
Oh, really?
That threw me so far through a loop when she first came on.
Oh, wow.
I was
Yeah.
like, there's no fucking way.
No, Paula, I believe she's a lawyer here in Rhode Island.
But that's awesome. And if y'all need anybody to tell you to get out of your own fucking way, feel free to text me because I have to do it with Dawn all the time too.
Yep.
All right, guys, I think that's a wrap. We're gonna call it. We're a little bit past the hour, so like I always leave people with it. If you got value, if you enjoyed it, if you had fun, if this brought you value, if we made you think, made you smile, made you laugh, bring a friend. We're here every single Sunday afternoon to learn and get better. So on that note, Dawn, everyone, we're out.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you both very much.
Bye.
Appreciate
Hopefully
it.
see
Have
you
a
all
good
next
weekend.
week. All right, bye guys.
Bye.